Welcome to Shining a Light Podcast, where we explore stories that challenge our perceptions and spark meaningful conversations. I'm your host, Tabitha, and today we're diving into a story that's as controversial as it is complex. The tale of Renee Bach and the white savior complex. Picture this, a young woman from Virginia, filled with faith and a burning desire to make a difference, boards a plane to Uganda. She's barely out of her teens, but she's driven by a mission to save the lives of malnourished children. This is the story of Renee Bach, but it's also a story about the dangers of good intentions and the complexities of international aid. Before we delve into Renee's journey, it's crucial to understand the concept of the white savior complex. At its core, the white savior complex is a phenomenon where a white person provides help to non-white people in a self-serving manner. It's a narrative that has deep historical roots, often tied to colonialism and missionary work. The white savior is driven by a need to be seen as a hero, to receive praise and recognition for their efforts. We'll hear the voices of mothers who lost their children under Renee's care and from Ugandan medical professionals who warned her about the dangers of her actions. Their stories reveal the profound consequences of unchecked good intentions and the importance of respecting local expertise. We'll also examine the challenges in holding foreign aid workers accountable, from weak regulatory oversight to the social and political dynamics that protect well-intentioned outsiders. And we'll look at the aftermath, how legal battles, financial strain, and public scrutiny have shaped Renee Bach's life and legacy. This episode is a cautionary tale about the dangers of the white savior complex and the need for ethical responsibility in international aid. It's a call to listen, to respect, and to empower local communities, reminding us that good intentions alone are not enough. Now, let's turn to Renee Bach. Born and raised in Virginia, Renee was a homeschooled teenager when she first traveled to Uganda. Her initial goal was simple: to help malnourished children and provide them with a chance at a better life. In 2007, at the age of 18, she moved to Uganda and founded a nonprofit organization called Serving His Children. To truly understand the impact of Renee Bach's work, we need to hear from those who were directly affected. Today, we share the stories of three mothers who lost their children under Renee's care. The first mother we'll hear from is Namusok. Namusok's son, Isaac, was just 2 years old when he fell ill. Desperate for help, Namusok took Isaac to Serving His Children, hoping that Renee Bach could save his life. But instead of receiving the care he needed, Isaac's condition worsened.
I trusted them with my son's life. I thought they would help him, but day after day, his condition only got worse. I begged them to take him to a hospital, but they refused. They said they could handle it. By the time they finally decided to seek proper medical help, it was too late. My Isaac was gone.
The second mother we'll hear from is Nakato. Nakato's daughter, Amina, was just 6 months old when she was admitted to Serving His Children. Amina was suffering from severe malnutrition, and Nakato hoped that Renee Bach could provide the care she needed.
I thought they were helping her. I thought they knew what they were doing, but Amina's condition only got worse. They didn't listen to my concerns. They didn't involve me in her care. I felt powerless, like my voice didn't matter. And then, one day, she was just gone. My beautiful Amina was taken from me.
And the third mother we'll hear from is Cato. Cato's son, Moses, was 3 years old when he was admitted to serving his children. Moses was suffering from severe malnutrition and dehydration. Cato hoped that Renee Bach could provide the care he needed.
I took Moses to serving his children because I believed they could help him. I thought they had the expertise and resources to save his life. But instead of getting better, Moses' condition deteriorated. They didn't consult me on his treatment, and they didn't involve local healthcare professionals. I felt helpless, like I had failed my son. And then, one day, he was gone. My Moses was taken from me.
The impact on local communities is profound. Voices from Uganda offer insights into the cultural and social dynamics at play, highlighting the importance of respecting local expertise and empowering communities to drive their own development. Now, let's hear from some of those professionals. We have 3 medical professionals who interacted with Renee Bach and warned her about the dangers of her actions. The first professional we'll hear from is Dr. Sarah Nakamiya, a pediatrician who worked in Jinja, Uganda during the time Renee Bach was operating serving his children. Dr. Nakamiya recalls her concerns about the lack of oversight and the potential for harm.
I first became aware of Renee Bach's work when I started seeing cases of children who had been treated at her center. Many of these children were in worse condition than when they first arrived. I reached out to her, expressing my concerns about her lack of medical training and the risks she was taking. But she was convinced that she was doing the right thing. She believed that her faith and good intentions were enough to justify her actions.
The second professional is Nurse Emily Kutisa, who worked at a local clinic in Jinja. Nurse Kutisa recalls her interactions with Renee Bach and her attempts to warn her about the risks of her practices.
I remember the first time I met Renee Bach. She was passionate and determined, but she was also naive. She didn't understand the complexities of treating malnourished children, and she didn't have the training to provide the care they needed. I warned her about the dangers of her actions, but she was convinced that she was making a difference. She didn't listen to my concerns, and she didn't involve local healthcare professionals in her work.
And the third professional that we will hear from in this podcast is Dr. James Sakempi, a public health official who worked in Jinja during the time Renee Bach was operating serving his children. Dr. Sakempi recalls his concerns about the lack of regulation and oversight in Bach's work.
As a public health official, I was responsible for ensuring the safety and well-being of the community. When I became aware of Renee Bach's work, I was immediately concerned. She was operating without proper medical training or oversight, and she was putting the lives of children at risk. I warned her about the dangers of her actions, but she was convinced that she was doing the right thing. She didn't listen to my concerns, and she didn't involve local healthcare professionals in her work.
The stories of the mothers and the medical professionals paint a vivid picture of the concern surrounding Renee Bach's operations. Despite these warnings and the growing evidence of harm, shutting down her operations proved to be a significant challenge. One of the primary difficulties was the lack of clear regulatory oversight. In many developing countries, including Uganda, regulatory frameworks for non-governmental organizations and foreign aid workers can be weak or poorly enforced. This lack of oversight allowed Renee Bach to operate serving his children with minimal interference despite the absence of proper medical credentials. Additionally, Renee Bach's organization was registered as a nonprofit, which provided a layer of legitimacy and protection. Nonprofits often enjoy a degree of trust and goodwill from the public and authorities, making it difficult to scrutinize their operations critically. This trust, combined with Bach's portrayal of herself as a selfless missionary, created a protective bubble around her activities. Another significant challenge was the political and social dynamics at play. Foreign aid workers often occupy a complex position within communities they serve. They bring in resources and attention that can be beneficial, but they also operate within a context of power imbalances. Local authorities may be reluctant to challenge foreign aid workers due to fears of losing support or facing backlash from international donors. Furthermore, the legal process in Uganda can be slow and cumbersome. Filing lawsuits and navigating the legal system requires time, resources, and expertise that many affected families and local professionals may not have. This legal barrier further delayed efforts to hold Bach accountable and shut down her operations. The cultural context also played a role. The white savior narrative is deeply ingrained in the history of international aid and missionary work. This narrative can create a perception of infallibility around foreign aid workers, making it difficult for local voices to be heard and taken seriously. The idea that someone from a developed country is inherently more capable or knowledgeable can overshadow the concerns and expertise of local professionals. Despite these challenges, the persistence of medical professionals, affected families, and local advocates eventually brought attention to the issues at Serving His Children. Their efforts highlighted the need for stronger regulatory framework, better oversight of foreign aid workers, and a more critical examination of the white savior complex in international aid. So, where is Renee Bach now? The consequences of her actions have been significant and multifaceted, affecting her legally, financially, professionally, and personally.
A Christian missionary is fighting to clear her name tonight following accusations by two mothers in Uganda and a group called No White Saviors that the Virginia woman contributed to the deaths of, they say, hundreds of babies by treating them without a medical license at her nonprofit charity clinic called Serving His Children. That missionary, Renee Bach, joins us now to tell her side of the story along with her attorney, David Gibbs. Renee and David, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be with you, Shannon.
Okay,
Thanks, Shannon. It's good to be here.
I want to read from Women's Pro Bono Initiative. They're one of the plaintiffs joining with these two mothers. They say the mothers allege they were led to believe that Miss Renee Bach was a medical doctor and that her home was a medical facility, as she was often seen wearing a white coat, a stethoscope, and often administered medications to children in her care. The actions of Renee and SHC led to the death of hundreds of children. Renee, that is a serious allegation. How do you respond?
So first off, I have never represented myself as a medical professional or health worker of any type. The organization Serving His Children hires medical professionals that are Ugandan, local and national folks. And I have assisted our medical team in emergency settings and in crisis situations, but I have never practiced medicine, and I have never adorned or put on any sort of a uniform or white coat for that matter. So yeah, it's a tough allegation for sure.
So, David, I know that you have said you believe this group is potentially defaming her. They may be libelous and slandering her. Would you consider legal action in return? Do you think your case is strong enough?
Well, Shannon, absolutely the case would be strong enough. Now, the problem with these reputational terrorists on the internet is even finding these people all around the world and putting out information that's not fact-based. And it's very sad when a missionary or humanitarian or any individual from the United States or any developed nation wants to go into a third world or a health crisis somewhere like in Uganda, what Renee in serving his children has done. And they come under these attacks with no way to really defend yourself effectively. We believe that it's important that you get good information out. And while they want to talk about these desperately sick children that were tragically lost, they're ignoring the fact that 3,600 children had their lives saved. What serving his children did with a medical team there in Uganda and under Renee's leadership was truly remarkable.
Okay, so to respond to that, because this group, No White Saviors, you talk about how they use the internet. They have spoken out a lot and on social media, and to this point that there were good things being done along with what they allege were bad things being done. They say this: look at all of their service. Look at all the good they've done for all of God's people. A deeply flawed logical reasoning only afforded to white folks who've committed heinous crimes. Whiteness gives you the benefit of the doubt even when the evidence is clear as day. Renee, are you surprised by these attacks, and how do you hope to prove your innocence?
So there definitely is a movement right now, and the white savior complex or white saviorism are kind of hot button topics, at least in the world that I come from. And I would have to say, when I originally went to Uganda in 2007, it was to volunteer with an established orphanage there, and it was through that experience that led me to return to Uganda and ultimately found serving his children. And so I have to say that when I went to Uganda the first time, I was a young American woman boarding a plane to Africa, and I definitely had a white savior complex. I mean, my desire to go to Uganda was to help people and to serve. And I think that oftentimes anyone coming from a culture such as America, or a culture where we would say we've had great privilege, going into a culture that is stated to be, underdeveloped or with a lack of resources, anyone could be considered a white savior in that environment. And I was not immune to that myself. I am proud to say that through the growth of serving his children and personal growth, I realized that, I wasn't even needed in Uganda for programs to operate, and were completely Ugandan-led and nationally run. And so these accusations are incredibly disappointing, as I've spent the majority of my adulthood serving in Uganda, but I also realized that not everything was done perfect the right time, and I'm willing to stand for the organization and for the work that we've done there.
Okay. Renee and David, we will follow the case. Thank you for joining us.
Legally, Renee faced substantial backlash. In 2019, a lawsuit was filed against her by a group of Ugandan mothers whose children died under her care. This lawsuit alleged negligence and wrongful death, seeking justice and compensation for the families affected by her actions. The legal proceedings brought international attention to her case and raised serious questions about the accountability of foreign aid workers.
A U.S. missionary is being sued by mothers in Uganda who claim her medical facility under serving his children is responsible for the death of their children.
How did an American missionary conduct medical work in Uganda without any qualifications?
Renee Bach is being sued for allegedly operating a medical facility without a license, leading to the death of hundreds of children.
That the Virginia woman contributed to the deaths of, they say, hundreds of babies.
Financially, the lawsuits and legal battles have had considerable impact. Legal fees, settlements, and the loss of donations and support for her organization have resulted in significant financial strain. For instance, in July 2020, an out-of-court settlement which reached in a lawsuit filed against Renee Bach, resulting in a payment of $9,500 to each of the two mothers who had sued her over the deaths of their children. This totals $19,000 paid in settlements. Additionally, For a subsequent lawsuit involving 4 Ugandan families, the advocacy group No White Saviors raised $16,000 to cover the legal fees for these families. The controversies and legal challenges have also had a significant impact on the organization's reputation and operations, likely affecting donor trust and financial contributions to the organization. Professionally, the fallout has been equally severe. The controversy surrounding her work led to a tarnished reputation that has made it difficult for her to continue in the field of international aid. Her organization faced intense scrutiny and criticism, leading to a loss of support and funding. The professional consequences have forced her to step back and reevaluate her approach to humanitarian work. On a personal level, Renee has had to confront the emotional and psychological toll of her actions. The realization of the harm caused under her care has undoubtedly been a heavy burden to bear. In interviews, she has expressed deep regret and remorse for the outcomes of her work. The personal stories of the mothers and the professional warnings she received have weighed heavily on her conscience. Renee Bach is quoted as saying in an interview, quote, "I went to Uganda with the best intentions, but I realize now that good intentions are not enough. We need to listen to and respect the communities we're trying to help. I never wanted to cause harm, and I am deeply sorry for the pain that has been caused." End quote. The public scrutiny and media attention have also taken a personal toll. Being at the center of a controversial and highly publicized case has affected her personal life and relationships. The experience has been a difficult journey of reflection and growth as she navigates the complexities of her past actions and their consequences. However, despite these challenges, Renee's story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of the white savior complex and the importance of ethical responsibility in international aid. Her experience highlights the need for proper training, cultural sensitivity, and collaboration with local experts in humanitarian efforts. In the heart of Uganda, a small charity once stood with a big mission: to help malnourished children and offer hope to families in crisis. This charity was called Serving His Children, founded by an American missionary named Renee Bach. For years, Serving His Children operated in the rural community of Jinja, providing meals and medical care to those in need. Renee and her team became a lifeline for many, but behind the scenes, trouble was brewing. In 2015, Ugandan authorities shut down the charity center, citing that it was operating without the necessary medical license. The organization tried to adapt, partnering with a government health center to continue its work, but the shadows of controversy grew longer. Allegations surfaced that Renee, who was not a licensed doctor, had been treating children herself. Heartbreakingly, some children died while in the charity's care. 2 mothers, whose children were among them, took legal action. Their story caught the attention of the world, and the media spotlight grew intense. As the pressure mounted, so did the challenges. By early 2020, Serving His Children's main source of funding in the United States dried up. The board of directors faced a difficult decision. With no money coming in, how could they keep their doors open? Let's pause for a moment and look at what led to Serving His Children's closure. In 2015, the Ugandan government closed the original center for operating without a medical license. Despite reopening in partnership with a government health center, controversy and scrutiny persisted. Legal battles and international media coverage put the organization under immense pressure. By mid-2020, the charity's main funding source in the United States was shut down, leaving the organization unable to continue its work. On July 18, 2020, the board of directors officially decided to dissolve Serving His Children in Uganda. As part of an out-of-court settlement, compensation was paid to the affected families, and Renee Bach agreed never to return to Uganda or practice medicine there again. The story of Serving His Children is a complex one, filled with hope and heartbreak, good intentions, and grave mistakes. As the charity's chapter closed, the communities it once served looked for new ways to heal and move forward. Sometimes stories end not with a bang, but with a quiet lesson that helping others require not just heart, but also humility, respect, and accountability. As we reflect on the story of Renee Bach, it's clear that the white savior complex is a multifaceted issue that requires careful consideration. It's a reminder of the importance of ethical responsibility in global humanitarian efforts and the need to respect and empower local communities. The lessons from this story are profound, challenging us to think critically about the nature of aid and the impact of our actions. Thank you for joining me on this journey in Renee Bach, the White Savior Complex, and the Serving His Children organization. I encourage you to share your thoughts and feedback and to explore the resources provided for further reading. Until next time, keep shining a light on the stories that matter.
The anonymous call came into the San Diego County Sheriff's Department between 3:15 and 3:30 this afternoon, asking deputies to check on the well-being of the occupants in this 9,200 square foot home in exclusive Rancho Santa Fe.
The first thing that he met were approximately 10 bodies.
Sheriff's officers say they found dozens more in a subsequent search, all young men, 18 to 24 years old.
Laying on their back with their hands at their sides, is appearing as if they had fallen asleep. There were no visible signs of trauma on any of the bodies.
Investigators report the victims were similarly dressed in dark-colored clothing. Through his attorney, the owner of the property says he rented it to a religious group. Neighbors reported that 5 to 10 people had lived in the house since October, but had no contact with them, though one man reports seeing a number of people over the weekend at the base of the long driveway that leads to the home. The arrival of San Diego County's district attorney was just one more indication that this was no ordinary investigation.
We'll take it very slowly. I just want to tell you that this is going to be an all-night proposition because we take it slow and easy. We don't know what we have yet. It appears to be something, but we don't know at this time.
This videotape from the air shows investigators collecting evidence outside the 9,200 square foot home. The sheriff's office says at least 12 homicide investigators are on scene.
It appears to be a but it could be something other than that.
What would drive a group of ordinary people to leave everything behind, don matching uniforms, and prepare for a journey beyond the stars? In our next episode, we unravel the chilling story of Heaven's Gate, the cult that shocked the world with its mysterious beliefs and tragic end. Who were the leaders behind the movement, and how did they convince followers that salvation awaited them on a spaceship trailing a comet? What secrets lay hidden in their secluded California mansion? And how did a message of cosmic hope spiral into one of the most infamous mass suicides in modern history? Join me as I peel back the layers of Heaven's Gate, from its origins in the 1970s through its bizarre rituals to the haunting final days that left a nation stunned. Are you ready to step through the gate?